Your first few months within the NHS can really be very exhausting and destabilizing if you don't have the right support or the right, induction process put in place. Welcome again to my YouTube channel. My name is Gary Pamba. I'm a nurse, an educator, a digital health strategist or enthusiast, and advocate. And today I'm going to be sharing with you how to really maximize your first few months within the NHS, looking at it from the place of induction, preceptorship, and supernumerary, or what we call probation. Right, okay, so if you've not watched my last few videos where I've talked about what you should look out for when you first get into the NHS, and also how to really understand your contracts and what you should be looking out in the contract, then you want to go watch the videos. The links are attached to this video for you to just go watch them, right? And I also added some additional resources that help you understand your annual leaves, what you're entitled to based on the number of years that you are working and the band level that you are in. Okay, so now let's talk about how to maximize my first few months in the NHS so that I just merely survive, but I actually structure and steward growth in the right path or in the right direction. So I'm going to talk about the first one. The first thing that happens when you get into the trust is called corporate induction. Now, what is corporate induction? Corporate induction is more or less like a compressed, training that has been put together for the essentialism of the trust, what you need to know or what you need to have attained at that first instant before you get into the trust or before you get into working on the ward or whatever you've been employed for. So what does the corporate induction entails? For some trusts, it does differs. For our own trust, some of the things we do in corporate inductions are some of the key mandatory trainings and learnings that you ought to have an understanding about before you get into the working experiences. And sometimes things like hand washing, things like NTT, things like the trust policies and the trust values, things around some sort of essential mandatory trainings that would really help you to start well at the thing that you experience or you partake of during corporate induction. And it usually would last for maybe the first 2 weeks. So ideally you're not even expected to go on the ward at all, but as soon as you've gotten your start date, you should be booked onto the corporate induction, where you have series of training. Sometimes it lasts for 2 weeks depending on your specialty. So if you're nurses, if you're an HCAs, and HCAs sometimes might just be for a few days where they teach you things like some mandatory training like moving and handling that you ought to know so that you don't you don't start lifting things that you're not trained for. They teach you things like BLS, where you understand the basic of how to resuscitate someone, and also things like a NTT, making sure that you are well equipped in the place in terms of from infection control perspective on how to maintain good personal hygiene and safe hygiene on the ward. So for nurses, sometimes you go into courses like sepsis, you do things like IV therapy, meds management, and all those other basic mandatory courses that can help you to really work well when you get on the ward, without having any glitch or any problem as to what you're competent of or you're not competent of, right? So that is really what corporate induction is all about, and it's the basic and the first thing that every newly employed staff must undergo within the NHS. The second one then is, by the time you finish your corporate induction and you've gone into your ward, the first thing you also want to be introduced to is a ward induction, right? So you have the manager, the senior sisters, and your fellow colleagues that will welcome you. So ideally, one of them or whoever you come across with at the beginning or the first time on the ward should be able to take you around the ward, introduce to you where the toilets are, where the kitchens are, where the patient's stuff are, where you can access, medication or, fluids, equipment, and the rest of them, all the different wards and the different side rooms that they have. They take you through around, showing you things like, your resuscitation trolley in case of a cardiac arrest or an emergency, walk you through some of the files and, procedures manual that they put together if you ever have any challenge with maybe elimination process or with maybe understanding infection control resources, or you need any information around any of these, maybe meds management. These are some of the folders that you can read and gain understanding from. So there should be some sort of word induction. So if you've not had that experience, you want to be asking, please can someone show me around the ward I'm going to be working? Because you don't want to go into the work and at some points you are unsure of something, or you need an emergency of something and you can't get across to it because you've not been shown where it's found, right? And that can be that can cause something very serious in the patient's care that you are giving to in the kind of care you're giving to your patient, right? So there must be a word induction. Then after, you now think about preceptorship. Now your preceptorship is basically normally would be around the fact that you would be asked to, you will be introduced to a preceptor, right? And you become the preceptee. Preceptorship lasts for 12 weeks. Part of what you would have experienced within your corporate induction period is also some sort of preceptorship training, right? So when I mention things like sepsis, when I mention things like mess management, those are preceptorship trainings and that you must have undergone, and it's usually will be around 2 weeks or thereabout, right? But then the whole preceptorship period itself is supposed to last for 12 months. Some organizations 6 months, but it's ideally 12 months, and you are supposed to have a 3-month reviews every now and again with your preceptor. Now, what is the essence of preceptorship? Preceptorship is to actually help you to integrate into the workspace or into your ward unit, without stress. Preceptorship is there to guide you. Preceptorship is able to measure your learning and to see what gaps you have in knowledge and how they can put the necessary training in place to support you, right? Preceptorship is supposed to equip you and empower you to be able to thrive as you start off as a newly qualified or a returnee or an overseas nurse in the NHS in your ward. So you should be having consistent engagement with your preceptor. There should be a learning what's it called again? You should have some sort of learning expectations, right? And a timeline with the milestones to say, okay, by so time you should have been able to understand what prioritization is, how to prioritize a patient, how to manage your time effectively on the ward, how to look after your patients effectively in such a way that you know what to do first and you know what comes after. So that is all about Pacific. Pacific will help you to understand the system itself. There's so many what's it called? IT resources that you need to engage with, with your preceptor. Despite having not undergone the training, you might not really understand it at that, instance that you've had the training. So it's your preceptor that would help you and guide you and teach you, okay, these are the things that we do in terms of admissions, this is what you need to do in terms of discharge, in terms of, medication, in terms of IV therapy. They just guide you. Not that you don't have an understanding of it, but they help you to make it easy, to help you to understand what you should do and how you can do it better and differently in such a way that, you thrive. You don't just sink in the midst of the workload. So that is what preceptorship period is all about. Help you to be better, help you to measure goals, help you to measure learning, and even signpost you to the learning that you might benefit from based on how far you guys have engaged with each other to see what you really need, right? And you have to have a review every 3 months to see how far you're doing and where you need to go and what needs to be put in place for you to be able to come out after that 1 year fully equipped and ready to really utilize and maximize your learning as a newly employed within the NHS, right? And then we have the last one, which is called the supernumerary period, or you call it the probation period. Now, it's not necessarily a probation in terms of like they want to observe you to see how you're doing, and if you don't do well, they will necessarily have to remove you or or send you off. No, it's not necessarily that. The supernumerary period should be a period where you are being fully supported. And when I mean supported is you're not left on your own. As a supernumerary, you're not even in the numbers. So ideally, you're not supposed to be in the numbers at all. If you're a supernumerary, you are still under observation, under supervision. You are still more or less like a glorified student, right? You are there, but you are following through, you are observing, you are learning from someone. So ideally, you should always have someone with you whilst you are whilst you are in your supernumerary period. Someone is there to guide you. Someone is there telling you what she or she is doing and explaining why she's doing what she's doing. Someone is there to put you through the flow of the workload that you have on the ward you have just been employed into. Someone is there to guide you on what documentation should look like, on what, to do when you have such case, when you have a patient with infection, as a result of loose stools, what should I do? What documentation should I engage in? What referral do I need to send? Do you see? All these things come across like that during the period of your supernumerary. So one thing that I need you to know is you are not supposed to be in the numbers. That was one thing I experienced while I was in supernumerary. Because they were short staffed, they put me in the numbers and I was almost sinking. So in your supernumerary period, which can last sometimes for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or maybe 12 weeks, depending on the ward. Wards like A&E, accident and emergency, you might take longer because there's so much to learn, right? And there's so much to engage with at a very fast pace. So it might take longer. Wards like Acute Medical Unit as well, and nurses on their new supernumerary sometimes last up to 8 weeks, right? Because you have so much to learn and it's a fast pace learning environment. But when you have wards like maybe medical ward, discharge unit ward, you necessarily don't have much to engage with, so that might last for just 6 weeks. So it always depends on the acuity of the word, and the busyness of that word determines how much you can carry and how long your supernumerary would last for. But ideally, supernumerary shouldn't be more than 12 weeks, which is maximum 3 months. If you're having to still struggle to be on your own after the 3 months, then there might be some sort of support system that they have to put in place for the extension of that supernumerary, which sometimes it might be a case of reviewing whether you need to still remain in that acute fast-paced ward or go into a ward where there is less busyness and workload that can allow you, based on your flow or based on your capacity, to be able to function still well and maximize your understanding and experience and learning as a nurse. So yeah, that is it with the three some sort of inductions, the three things that you need to know in your first few months that would really empower you and support you in your career as a nurse that has just been employed within the NHS. So corporate induction, we have what induction? We have a preceptorship, which is for like 12 months, and we have a supernumerary period, which is for maximum of 12 weeks for you to be able to gain your stand, to be able to work on your own. Now, what are the benefits of all these things? Some of the benefits as well is that it gives you a good knowledge of the trust and the policies and the values of the trust, especially within corporate induction. It gives you a basic understanding of what you should have as your minimum competencies for starting within the trust. Preceptorship helps you to gain stand and knowledge and even identify gaps that requires learning that it can signpost you on. So it supports you throughout your starting off in a new environment, especially for overseas nurses. And supernumerary helps you to be able to understand the flow of the ward, how the word works, how to document, what needs to go alongside every of your admission, what are the things that you must put in place every single day when you work. So do you see how important and the benefit of all these things? So yeah, I hope these have been helpful and insightful for you. So yes, if you really want me to give you some sort of preceptorship package of what exactly you must attain or you must be exposed to do your preceptorship, please drop it in the comment section and I'll put together something for you as a package for a newly qualified or an overseas nurse or a returning nurse that is just starting within the NHS. Thank you, and I will see you again in my next video. And please like, share and subscribe to learn more about how to really build and grow as a nurse within the NHS here in the UK. Thank you. Bye for now.